What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. Let's bang out a couple mailbag questions, a little Middlekauff mailbag, because I have a lot. So I thought I'd answer a few. Easiest way to get involved, my Instagram, at John Middlekauff. Instagram, fire in those DMs. Start with Christian. Starts off with some kind words. I appreciate you. Question for the bag. And it's a long one. Not too bad. After watching film on the Bears offense last week, this guy's an all-22 junkie. Everyone from the O-line to the wide receivers to the QB and the backs were messing up left and right. Just a sloppy performance all around. It was one of those games where everyone is taking their turn screwing up, and there's just poor execution. A lot of it was piss poor blocking as well. I know Kyle Shanahan is a master at scheming plays, along with having great, talented skill position players. But more than anything, it seems like his teams execute at a high level. There's talent all around the NFL. Take, for example, the Bears' skill position players. But rarely does an offense look in sync like Kyle's. My question, simply, how does he do it? Well, more specifically, how does he get players to execute his vision at such a high level? He's mastered an offense, right? So once you master your craft, he's been doing it, think about it, his whole life. Grew up around his dad that ran the offense. He was obviously a football player in high school and college. So I would imagine his conversations with his dad weren't all just, what's for dinner? I mean, they probably nerding out on that. And he's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL for a decade and a half. So he's been doing it for a long, long time. And I think when you've mastered what you want people to do, and good coaches then know how to teach it. And part of that is teaching your coaches. Part of that is being a good communicator. Every player learns different. The 49ers are a good example. Like, let's use the Bears. Your quarterback just made his first start. Keenan Allen has never played with Caleb Williams in a regular season game. Rome Odunze is a rookie. DJ Moore, also brand new quarterback. So, you guys, just the cohesion / experience. And, Seattle loves to shit on Shane Waldron. Last time I checked, every offensive coordinator Seattle ever had under Russell Wilson got fired. That's not an opinion. That's a fact, which is unheard of with any good Pro Bowl level quarterback in his prime. Those guys get jobs. They always blame the offensive coordinator. It was never Russell's fault. Let him cook. And then Denver tried to let him cook, and the kitchen burned down. But, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams played for Kyle before he got to San Francisco. These guys have been playing with each other a long time. And I think when you look at Kelsey and Mahomes, think of the cohesion those two had because of how much time they've spent together. And some teams are able to overcome it fast. Like when Peyton Manning got to Denver, Tom Brady got to Tampa Bay. But I'd say those situations are outliers. Usually the best offenses play together for a little while, at least a core group of the guys. And their offensive coordinator just knows what he's doing. Now, look at Mike Zimmer's defense the other day. Now, we can say Deshaun sucks or whatever, but he's kind of knows what he's doing. He knows how to coach guys, and he knows how to communicate what he wants. So, and their guys have a lot of experience. He's playing with guys, Eric Kendricks out there right now. Well, think how much time Kendricks and Zimmer spent together in Minnesota. I know he's new to Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons has been playing for a long time now. So even if it's new terminology, he kind of knows what he's doing. And I think it could just be rocky for the Bears early on. I don't think it's this isn't rocket science. Now, there's also a balance of we have some non-negotiables. I know with Kyle, just because I follow them so closely, you have to block as a wide receiver. And if you do not, you're just not going to play. Brandon Ayuk, like one thing I think early on they butted heads over, and then he became one of the better guys in the league. He has to block his ass off. Juwan Jennings gets in fights like every week. Why? Because Kyle demands that. Even Devontae Adams, was it on receiver or was it on a podcast? Maybe it was on some interview I saw. They were asking, like, not, oh, it was like him and St. Brown were doing this, like Devontae made Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's like, list a couple things I don't do well. It was kind of hard. And even you could tell it was like, and he hit on like, you don't have elite speed and, blocking is iffy. And even Devontae's like, yeah, I'm not a big blocker. And I don't blame him. Like Dion says, I don't get paid to tackle, paid to cover. So, but if you're going to play for Kyle, you got to block. And I just think certain coaches have non-negotiables on certain things. And then it just and then he obviously just knows his offense inside and out. Like Andy Reid has mastered his offense for 30 plus years. You can't. I think sometimes when you bounce around as a coordinator, it's hard to get cohesion. I mean, let's face it, usually the best coordinators find themselves in a spot, master it in that spot, and then become a head coach. That's a pretty consistent kind of trajectory. Pats fan is from Chad. I know where you stand on the Patriots' outlook, but their win this week got me thinking. If the Pats are somehow able to have some immediate success under Mayo, 500-ish or better, would it hurt Belichick's stock for head coaching positions, or does his resume speak for itself? If I were an owner and the Pats exceeding expectations this season would really amplify BB's share of the blame for everything post-Brady. Love Bill and think he's an all-timer, but he made some pretty head-scratching decisions as the GM and the head coach at the end of his tenure in New England. 100%. Not deniable. Like, it was really bad. The Patricia thing, he loves Patricia. I mean, somehow I end up on that podcast and Patricia's sitting right next to him. And even when Patricia talks about Bill, everything's like, Bill, when Bill did this, it's like, Jesus. Like, all the guys that hit your wagon do. Like, listen, I understand Josh is a bad head coach, but feels like he's a really good offensive coordinator, but he just loves Patricia. I just think he loves a certain guys. I'm not trying to poo-poo Gerard Mayo, and he's like every player that ever played with him loves him. He obviously is a really high-level guy. I'd say the same thing about Antonio Pierce. When you talk about team captains, leaders, if the Raiders or the Patriots win 8-9 or 9-8, those guys should get Coach of the Year votes. I wouldn't get too ahead of ourselves on one game against the Bengals who look like shit. Everyone's like, Middlekauff, you were so easy on Joe Burrow. Like, yeah, he's shitty. What do you want me to say? Fucking cut him? Like, you're harder. I saw a lot. You're harder on Lamar. Well, yeah, I saw Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. Go to the Super Bowl and have the lead. Like, that's the trump card in this whole thing. And then the following year, go toe-to-toe with Mahomes again. Now, obviously, they lost, but like, when the other guy does that, I'll give him his credit. Now, this version of Joe Burrow, if he's banged up, he's not the same guy. So then the Bengals obviously have problems. So if Joe Burrow is going to be like the guy we saw the other day, then yeah, Lamar's a better player. And the Bengals have no shot at the playoffs. But again, like when we talk about the highest level of these guys, like what have I seen in January games? When all the money's on the line, when all the chips are in the middle of the table. That was a good win. I'll take nothing away from Gerard Mayo and the Patriots. Whether you win 2-0 or 16-10 like they did, that's an impressive win. We'll see if they can keep it up. I would say no. But listen, not Nostradamus here. Question for the bag. Do you think we will ever see an era of Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid? Do you see Patrick retiring when Andy does? No. I mean, Patrick's what, 28 years old? I mean, he has 50, 60, $70 million a year reasons to not quit playing. You don't give up, unless you're Hassan Reddick, millions of dollars to not play. And Andy, just age is not necessarily on his side. So if you go, let me look up how old Patrick Mahomes is. I think he's 28. He's 28 years old. And he turns 29 September 17th. So Rodgers playing right now at 40. So does he have, let's just be conservative. He's got 10 more years. Again, conservative, the way these guys are playing now. He'd be 39. Well, I think Andy is what, 66? He's 66. He turned 67 in March. So is Andy Reid coaching at 77? You never say never, but I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you feel pretty good as long as Andy's health's good, that at minimum you got 5 more years. Like Andy ain't playing golf. Like Andy ain't like aspiring to call games on TV, and you don't leave this rocket ship, which you and Patrick are driving. So I don't even think you need to worry about like, will it happen? More than likely, if you're just betting on ages, you would say yes. Like Bill and Tom linked up, I think, when Bill was 50 or maybe even 48. If Andy had linked up like that, I'd say 100%. But these guys linked up when Andy was 60. So if Mahomes is going to play 18 years, you just, the numbers. But I would say for the foreseeable future, Andy Reid's your coach, which means you're going to be good. Touchdowns, TD, Huddy, taking it to the house, in for 6. I like to call it a tug. Whatever you call touchdown, one thing's for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, special teams or defense, we do not care how you score them. We just want to bet touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your bet today. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? I know I do it all the time. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Conspiratorial mailbag question. Big fan. When it comes to Deshaun's latest lawsuit, do you think there is any possible way this could be an inside job from the Browns or someone affiliated with the Browns in an attempt to have an opportunity to void the rest of his guarantees? I know it's unlikely, but as soon as I heard about the lawsuit, I read a little bit of the write-up today on Florio, who had quotes from Hardin and Busby, the attorneys representing Deshaun, and the is it the defendant, the plaintiff? Didn't go to law school. This, I guess, got brought to their attention 10 months ago. So I don't think this has anything to do with the Browns. I started reading it, and then I was like, I am so tired of Deshaun Watson massage handy content. Like I don't even want to read it. I don't even care. Like that's I stopped reading it about 3 or 4 sentences through the attorney statement. I'm like, I'm not wasting my time doing this. But having read that and just read the first part of the statement, talked about the timeline, I don't think the Browns have anything to do with this. Because he talked about all the other women that came forward. He was part of that too. Remember, all this stuff, like this links back to 2020. And like this goes back to the Texans time, which I think it's pretty clear that the trade request was trying to run away from his problems. Which is just a disaster for the Browns. I mean, it really is. I saw when I was playing golf, right when I done, I was eating lunch and sitting in the car. I had to order a couple things and was scrolling through Twitter and saw some comments from the press conference. It was like, this is cringe. This is tough. Feel for you, Browns fans. My question is, what do you think the biggest problem with the Ravens is? Lack of being able to draft receivers or Lamar's inability to play from the pocket in the playoffs? I think last year during the season, he had played so well. And in that specific game, he just got tighter as the game went on. And it looked like he let the moment, the Patrick Mahomes, how well they had done in the first half, really affect him. And he looked much worse than he had just done. That game that he played against the 49ers on Christmas, it was like, this guy is in a really good spot. The way this guy is playing right now is going to translate. I mean, I had money on them to win the Super Bowl. And then it's like you're playing Tiger Woods in his prime, and all of a sudden you're 2 shots down after 4 holes. You're like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And you get tight. And he got tight. Like the other night, I don't think he got tight. He just missed a couple throws and he ran around. Like he's just kind of playing it. He's just doing what he has to do to win. I think one big question mark with this team this year is going to be that offensive line. Like if they struggle to block, all the good teams in the AFC have a good pass rush, right? I mean, the Bills have a good, especially an edge rush. The Texans are going to have a good pass rush. We saw the Chiefs. So the teams you're going to have to beat, the Steelers. I mean, TJ Watt looked like fucking Lawrence Taylor the other day. Watching that game the other day back, I was like, Jesus, this guy shot out of a rocket. Now, the question was, he's been banged up. Like, can he just, if he stays healthy, I mean, he's got Defensive Player of the Year written all over him. Even the Browns, I mean, their quarterback situation is a disaster, but Myles Garrett can wreck your world, and he can do that fast. So it's like, are you going to be able to block these guys, or is Lamar just going to have to run around for his life? And I think the question mark is if he has to run around for his life, which turns into sweet plays because he's one of the greatest runners we've ever seen, can he just sustain all season having double-digit runs against every good team they play? He's pretty good at like kind of getting down. He's not really a slider, but kind of doing the plop when he's running. But you just inevitably take extra hits, and then it just adds up over the course of time. Taking my kids to see the Razorbacks versus UAB Saturday. Arkansas versus Oklahoma State was a fantastic watch on Saturday morning. I was glued. Overtime, it was good. Sam Pittman, got the boobs hanging. Gundy, just hair flowing. I love a stadium. It doesn't really happen in the NFL, but in college, when there's no room, when a dude catches it and he like runs into the wall, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. Enjoy the game. Do you think with all the prop bets, it opens up the possibility of guys cheating on stats? We have seen examples of point shaving, and I can't imagine how many stories of cheating we never knew about. What are the chances that stat shaving is going on or will? Would love to hear your take on it. Also, I did a game parlay where you can manipulate the lines. I moved the line from the 49ers minus 9.5 under 51 points and the backdoor TD with 25 seconds left. It made the total 51. Have you ever seen a game in that spot where they went for 2? No. It was wild. I won $1,600. Congrats to you. The example in the NBA where the dude was shaving the prop bets and having guys bet a lot of money on his unders, he was a two-way player. And in the NBA, you can really control that. In the NFL, let's use a lot of the prop betting guys. It would be wide receivers and running backs. Well, running backs have been bitching and moaning for years. They don't make that much money. All the good ones are making 10 to 13, 14 million. Right? They all make, any established player that is going to take a lot of action is making big coin. The receivers now, like in what world would it make sense for any receiver worth their salt to even contemplate doing that? I mean, low-paid guys like Nico Collins, $24 million a year. And with the prop bets, there are limits on how much you can bet on a prop bet. Like I can bet $1 million on a game. I can't do that on a prop. So I don't think it's a big concern in the NFL. Just like in the NBA. Like, why would any dude risk that when I'm making average guys? The average salary in the NBA is like $8 million. Obviously, all the good players are making minimum. Like, Klay Thompson took a pay cut. He's making like 19. Obviously, all the stars make between 30 and 60. Love the show. I listened to your feed and now Collins on CMC Jordan Mason topic. A lot of people care because of prop bets, not money line or spread. Well, okay. The moment a guy is inactive, if you had money on Christian with a prop bet, you would just get your money back. And like once it becomes an option, or you figure out Jordan Mason is going to start, his odds change. So yeah, I mean, if he knew he was going to start, you could have hammered him, I guess, because his odds were really good. But Christian McCaffrey, again today, limited in practice. You know he's injured. So when I was looking at the prop bets, you would have hit them. So if you took Jordan Mason, like he hit them all. Like the most yards on DraftKings you could have bet was over 120 yards. I looked at that right when I saw Christian McCaffrey was inactive. But you see this all the time around the NFL. You don't know, like there are guys on the injury, like Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen. Are they going to play this week or not? Eberflus doesn't need to tell you. They're on the injury report. One might play, both might play, neither might play. So you can take their prop bets. You could not, but there's a risk in all this. Like they are not, I'm all for transparency. There is a limit in which a competitive disadvantage. They don't need to tell who's starting. It'd be like, what's the game plan? If you had every team's game plan, right, you would go, God, keep an eye on this guy today. That's not the way it works. Like that's part of the game we're all playing, which is part of the fun. Okay, Brock Purdy, this is from Jude. Brock Purdy led the league last year in completion percentage of throws of 20-plus air yards. That's not hitches, checkdowns, bubble screens, or yak yards. This is factual data sourced on PFF. He was literally the freaking best in the NFL at dotting receivers down the field. But he still is a consideration as a big arm quarterback. Colin has praised the Ravens for years of building a team and then inserting Lamar. Lamar gets all the credit. The 49ers also built a good team, and Brock took advantage of it, but gets no credit. Well, there are two things can be true. He is a very accurate passer, but he doesn't have a big arm. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has an NFL arm. But like relative to NFL quarterbacks, I would not say he has an above average arm. But just because you have an above average arm, Anthony Richardson just threw one 65, 70 yards off his back foot. But he went 9 of 19. He's not the most accurate passer. So like two things can be true, right? You don't need a big arm 20 yards down the field. Like he had Jennings the other night. Great throw. Ayuk in the corner of the end zone, which Ayuk dropped. But I would not consider Brock Purdy as a big arm guy. I think the difference of Lamar and Purdy is the Ravens had been struggling with Flacco. And Lamar came and they started winning again. The 49ers had been winning before Brock was inserted into the starting lineup. So if you're just using those two examples, like without Lamar and Joe Flacco, they were losing. I'm pretty sure they had a couple under 500 seasons. And that year in which Lamar got inserted throughout the middle of the season for Flacco, saved their season and then led them into the playoffs. You know, the 49ers had been in the Super Bowl with Jimmy. They had been to the NFC Championship the year before with Jimmy. When Jimmy broke his foot or whatever the hell happened, some bone or ankle, I forget exactly. I guess Trey was the ankle, Jimmy was the foot. They had been winning that year as well. So I think that's a part of the pushback on Purdy too, is like his team was losing. Or excuse me, his team had been winning. Where Lamar, in your example, had not. But like two things can be true. Brock does not have Josh Allen's arm. He's a very accurate down the field passer. Extremely. And it's been a reason why the 49ers are by far the best version of the Kyle Shanahan 49ers with him over Jimmy, who definitely was not accurate down the field. And as time went on, it got less and less accurate. And the other thing is, you know, Kyle didn't trust Jimmy down the field, rightfully so. He does with Purdy. So when you have trust in your quarterback to make the throws down the field, because he's accurate, you call more plays, which they clearly do for him. Adios, everybody.